Okay, good morning everybody, and welcome to another of our Friday webcasts. My name is Dave Whiteley. I'm Technical Director of Envisageukltd, and I'd just like to take this opportunity for the next half hour to show you some simple work with Inventor iLogic. Now, iLogic was purchased by Autodesk about 3 or 4 years ago, and the main reason for iLogic was to control complex design variants and automate tedious design tasks. In other words, to be able to automate the design of complex assemblies from user-defined dialog boxes or Excel spreadsheets and so on. There's plenty on the web concerning this and plenty of tutorials. So what I thought I would do today is just take go through a simple example that anybody can use and really show you how iLogic works and how you can benefit from these simple macros. So if we just pop into Inventor, and I'll show you where all the iLogic commands are, or most of them are. I've got an assembly open at the moment. Now the story of this particular macro is I was at a customer and they wanted to put the scale of the current view on the drawing title block. And there are ways that you can do this without iLogic, but they're not very elegant. And we came up with a simple iLogic macro that allowed you to automate the placement of the scale of a view, a drawing view, in the title block. That then expanded to a few other things. So that's what I want to run through today. So it's just really to show you how you can create simple macros using iLogic to automate your design tasks. If I've got time, I'll also go through a few other bits and pieces in iLogic, but we'll see how time goes. So first of all, if we go to the Manage ribbon, the iLogic has its own area in the Manage ribbon. And we're looking at rules that we add using iLogic. We also have various other commands I'm going to run through in a minute. But that's the first area. That's where we actually create rules and control when rules are run. And secondly, hidden away in Tools, under Options, is the iLogic configuration command. Now this actually controls where you put your iLogic external rules. We'll talk about those later on. I've set mine to go into a particular directory on my C drive, and I've chosen the .iLogic VB extension for my files. These are text files. You can just edit them. So if you want to, you can just call it a .txt file should you wish. But if you're working on a network with multiple users, then of course this external rule directory may well want to be on a shared drive on the server. But this is where the external rules go. So you need to set this up from the options, the Tools ribbon and the Options area. Okay, so what we're going to do is we'll start a new drawing. This is just a blank template, and we're going to set this up so that we can start using an iLogic rule. Now, I've got scale in my dialog box. If we have a look at this, it's just purely text. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to get a parameter or a property into this dialog box. So what I'm going to do is in the iProperties for the drawing, we're going to create ourselves a custom property called Scale. It's a text property, and we'll add that into the drawing. You could, if you wanted to, use any of the other properties. You know, you could use, for instance, keyword or category or something like that, something that's not being used. But what the heck, it doesn't take too long to create yourself a custom property. So we'll create a custom property in this drawing called Scale, and then we're going to fill that in from the iLogic macro, and eventually then that's going to go into the title block. So to get that into the title block, we need to edit the title block, edit the text, wipe over that so whatever we replace gets replaced with that gets replaced with what we're importing at the moment. Go to our type, custom properties drawing, scale comes up because it's the only custom property in the list, and then click on the button to add that text parameter to the format text dialog box, and that puts the property into our title block. If we just save that, of course there's nothing in there at the moment because my property, custom property, is empty. So that's that configured. Now what we need to do is just bring a drawing view in so we can actually play with this and use this in our macro. 1 to 2 will do. Okay. Now what we used to do in the past, which as I say is not very elegant, but we used to edit the view and place the scale label and then edit the label and then drag that down into a rough area on the title block. That's what we used to do. But this hopefully is a little bit more elegant and it uses macros, and we're going to try and automate it as much as we can. So we have a view here. This view is called View 1 and it's at a particular scale. I want to get the scale of that view into my custom property, which will then go into the title block at the bottom of the screen here. So this is when we can start working with iLogic. So if we go into Manage, I'll put the iLogic browser on. I'll just drag it down to the bottom here. This is actually quite handy to see what's actually going on. Now there are 4 areas to the iLogic browser. There are rules that we actually add to our current file, which in this case is a drawing. There are forms. You can actually create forms, your own forms, dialog boxes to control iLogic macros should you wish. And we also have external rules which go to that particular folder that I showed you earlier under Tools, Options and iLogic Configuration. Okay, so let's go back to the Rules tab because we want to see what's going on here. And all I need to do now is click on Add Rule and give this a name. Obviously scale is an obvious choice here, and it'll bring up an edit box. Just drag this so you can see everything. Okay, so this is where we type our rule. We are helped because it's loosely based on VB, but don't be too worried about that because a lot of the code is actually on the left-hand side in this snippets area. It's all categorized, and also we have custom snippets if you want to do some advanced stuff later on, saving as DWF, saving as different file formats, Windows voice command, it's all in there. In the standard snippets area, some of the useful things are the Excel data links we can read and write from Excel spreadsheets. Absolutely fantastic piece of software. In this case, we want to do something with the drawing view. So let's go to the drawing category. And we need to find something to do with the drawing view, scale that is, view scale. Get or set the scale of a view as a number. I'd rather work with text because our I property is a custom property in its text. So the next one down, get or set the scale of a view as a text string. We'll choose that one. Double click on it and it puts it into our edit box. Standard notepad type stuff so we can copy and paste and do whatever we like with it. So what that is actually going to do, it's going to go to the active sheet of the drawing. It's going to take the View 1 view and grab its scale as a string. Great. But we need to set that to something, so all we need to do now at the beginning of this is say, okay, well, scale equals, if I spell scale right. Okay, scale equals. So a little simple variable called scale is now equal to whatever this string is, or the scale is, from View 1. Okay, so that's grabbed that information. Now we need to put that into the custom I property that we've set for scale. So again, on the left-hand side here, we just go down to our categories. We want custom properties, so I properties is what we're after. Custom, here we go. Get or set a custom property. Double-click on that, put it into the box. Okay, let's read what this says. Get the value of the I property, which is in the custom tab or custom area, and property name. Right, so if we change that to our property name, which was called scale, and that needs to be equal to scale value or the scale variable that we set above. So now what's going to happen is this. The variable called scale is going to be filled in with a text string which represents the scale of the view. That then is going to get pushed into the custom property called scale. Simple as that. So let's see what happens. Let's click on OK. Let's there's the rule in our list of rules in the drawing. Okay, right click on this and run the rule. The rule is run, but for some reason, as you can see, there's nothing in the scale box. So let's go and do a little bit of debugging. Let's have a look at the I properties in the drawing and have a look at the custom properties. Let's put the value in there, so at least the iLogic rule has worked to that point. It's taken the scale from the view, it's pushed it into the custom property. So why is it not in the title block? It is now, but something must have happened in the interim. So let's go and edit the rule. Now, one thing that you must be aware of when you're trying to, or when you're writing macros that update anything in Inventor, is that we really need to update the document. So finally here, we're just going to go to the document category. We want to use document update, immediately update the document that the rule is in. That'll do. Double click on that, and that puts an update in. So now what will happen is it will run through, add the I property, and then it'll update the document and the graphics, and hence change the scale. So let's just see if this works. If I edit the view, change this to 1 to 4. Make this as big as I can so you can see everything. Run the rule, and the scale changes accordingly. Okay, that's all well and good, but what if we don't have a view in there? Okay, so no view in the drawing. I've just started a new drawing. I haven't got a view in there already yet. What happens to the scale? Well, let's run the rule. Okay, so if we run the rule now, we get an error saying that no drawing view was named called view 1. Obviously, I've just deleted it. And I don't really want this to come up on my drawing every time I don't have a view called view 1. Sometimes I may have already created a view called view 1, deleted it, created a new view, that will be view 2, and of course the view 1 won't exist and I'll get this error every time. So what we can do now is we can edit the rule, and we'll just put a bit of rough and ready VB error checking in. And we've got to type this in because it's not in the snippets. It's very simple. In other words, on error, go to some line number, 100 will do. So if I get an error, we'll go to line 100. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to trap the error, take a copy of the custom property, put another line in, but I'm going to actually set this to the standard that we tend to use, NTS, not to scale, as a text variable there. So if anything goes wrong, it'll put not to scale in the custom property and put that on the drawing. So that needs to be line 100 there. So if we get an error in the first 2 lines, it'll go to line 100 and just set the custom scale to not to scale and then update the document. Obviously, we don't want to, after the scale here, this line here, we need to move on because we don't want to go and change it to not to scale. It'll keep moving down. So line 1 will work, this one will work, and then it'll go down to this one. We want to avoid this, so we can just do a simple go to 200 and put 200 in there. So we just skip this not to scale setting here. So what's going to happen is this. If view 1 exists, it'll grab the scale, it'll put the variable scale into the custom property, and then it'll go to line 200 and update the drawing, update the document. If for some reason it can't find view 1 or there's an error in the first 2 lines, it'll then go to line 200. Sorry, it'll then go to line 100, run this line, which is to set the custom property to not to scale, and then go and update the document. So let's just click on OK and see what happens. As soon as you click on OK, it does actually run the rule. There we go. So we've now got not to scale in there. So if we now create another view, which is view 2, and run the rule, we've still got not to scale because of course this is called view 2 and it's looking for view 1. You've got to look at the one view. Because you're going to have a number of views on the drawing, you've got to actually say, okay, well, which view are we going to use for the scale? And of course you need to be aware that the drawing sheet, you need to make sure that all your views are actually to that particular scale, which a lot of companies do. So all I need to do here is just rename this to view 1 here, run the rule, and now that works. Okay, so we've got a rule working. The only problem, of course, is that this rule is a local rule that I've just written in this document. It's not, it would have to be saved within the template. So really what I want to do now is create an external rule. So if I just edit this, copy everything, and go to my external rules, and right click here and say, okay, let's create a new external rule. Give it a name. Just make sure I put it in the right location. Already got one there, so I'll just call this scale 2. And just paste that in. Okay on that. I know I've now got an external rule called scale 2. Okay, now at the moment what happens, of course, is I've got to run this every time, and I don't really want to do that. I want this to actually run automatically. So if we go back to Manage, and we go up to the iLogic area, there's another button here called Event Triggers. So if we click on that, what happens here is the event triggers run these rules when events occur. Okay, so I'm going to do this before I save the document. So if I click on Before Save Document, click on Select Rules, it'll give me a list of the rules that I have either in the document or any external rules. I want to use the external rule. It helps then because this external rule can be edited at any time and of course accessed by a number of users on the network. So it's actually more elegant to use external rules than it is to use a local rule. Although when you're playing around and creating your macros, you can start off locally and then copy it across to an external rule later on. Okay, on that, so that what will happen now is before the save of the document, scale 2 will be run as an external rule. So if I just edit this view, do a save, it then updates the scale. One last thing you would need to do in this as well is to resave your template back to the templates library, because this will then get saved. If you don't, these triggers aren't saved. So you just need to make sure that the document is saved back as a template, and then all these triggers are saved. Okay, let's also go back to the local rule and see what else we can do in here. It's a bit of fun now more than anything else. What we can do here is, you'll notice in the custom snippets, we've got some advanced rules that we can put into, or snippets that we can put into our iLogic. One of these is the Windows voice command, which is quite neat. If you double click on that, it'll put the voice command information in, and all you've got to do is here, where it says speak or dot speak, is change here the text that you want to actually have coming up on your machine. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say current view scale is, and then it's a VB thing now, which is and then the scale variable, okay, which is the text coming across. Okay, on that.
Current view scale is 1 4.
Okay, so unfortunately we got 1 to 4, which doesn't come up too well on the voice, but if I just put my microphone a bit closer to the laptop and we run this rule, you'll hear that the voice command now will actually speak whatever that text is. So just hang on a second.
Current view scale is 1 4.
So you can actually have audio warnings coming up using iLogic, should you wish. One last thing as well, I get asked this a lot. Let's just take the voice stuff out. I want to save a PDF every time I save a drawing. There needs to be a little bit more put around this, but basically it's quite a simple piece of code to start off with, and I'll just do it afterwards here. So We're just going to go to the document information. Let's have a look. This document, there we go. So this document dot save as, whoops. This doc we need again, so we'll just copy that, and I'll explain what's going on. This doc dot change extension dot PDF, comma true. And what this will do, bracket in there. What this will actually do is it will change the extension of, it'll do a save as, so it will save my drawing as another document, and it'll actually change it as a document ends in .pdf, and then what that will do is that will automatically use the Inventor's translators to export out a PDF file. So just, obviously it doesn't control where it goes, this will just go into the same workspace that I'm working in at the moment. But you could add extra logic to that if you wished. And this is just a simple line that does a save as, if I get that right. This document, change the extension to .pdf, and if we click on OK, let's see if that works. There it is. It probably needs closing as well, but it's created the file. Yep, there it is. It's created the file. So you can actually use this to automatically save various files. And again, because I've actually got this as part of that particular rule, then everything is run just before a save. So you can, the whole idea here is that you can use iLogic for macros that really help you in day-to-day work on Inventor, and you don't necessarily need to immediately start working with iLogic in families of parts and families of assemblies. It is actually a general macro language as well, so that you can write your own simple macros. There are only a few lines. You may want to do a bit of error checking around it, and then have some fun with it. But it's a useful tool, not just for this families of parts and assemblies creation, but for simple macros that anybody can write. You don't need too much VB knowledge. You'll pick it up as you go along. We're on the end of the phone if you have any problems, and have some fun with it. So thank you very much for your time, and I'll look forward to seeing you on the next, speaking to you on the next webcast. Thank you very much.